David, a heart after God. Part 1. The shepherd and the call. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people. 1 Samuel 13:14. The forgotten son of Jesse. In the quiet hills of Bethlehem, where sheep dotted the pastures and olive trees stretched their roots deep into the soil, there lived a boy named David, the youngest of 8 sons born to a man named Jesse of the tribe of Judah. 1 Samuel 16:1. While his older brothers carried the muscle and stature befitting warriors, David's domain was the wilderness, the sheepfold, and the song. Though David was overlooked by men, he was seen by God. When the prophet Samuel arrived in Bethlehem to anoint a new king after Saul's failure, Jesse presented 7 of his sons, each impressive, each strong. But as Eliab passed before Samuel, the prophet thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord." Yet God whispered, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse replied, "but he is tending the sheep." 1 Samuel 16:11. David was summoned, ruddy, bright-eyed, and handsome. He walked in, unaware of his destiny. The Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." 1 Samuel 16:12. Samuel poured oil over David's head, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. 1 Samuel 16:13. He returned to the hills, to the sheep, and to his songs anointed, but not yet enthroned. A boy king chosen, but not crowned. David the harpist, called to the palace. Meanwhile, Saul, the first king of Israel, was tormented by an evil spirit. His servants sought a skilled musician to soothe his troubled soul, and one suggested David. "I have seen a son of Jesse. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him." 1 Samuel 16:18. David came, harp in hand. As he played, peace returned to Saul. Little did the king know that the soothing musician was destined to take his throne. Whenever the Spirit from God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. 1 Samuel 16:23. David went back and forth between Saul and tending sheep, living between two worlds, the pasture and the palace. Part 2. The giant and the glory. The battlefield of the valley of Elah, the Philistines, Israel's age-old enemies, had gathered for war. They stood on one hill, Israel on the other. Between them lay the valley of Elah. For 40 days, a giant named Goliath, over 9 feet tall, stepped forward and defied the armies of the living God. 1 Samuel 17:4-10. "Choose a man," he roared. "If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him, you will serve us." Fear paralyzed Israel. Saul, the tallest and mightiest among them, did not dare move. Back in Bethlehem, Jesse sent David to bring food to his brothers at the battlefront. When David arrived and heard Goliath's challenge, his heart stirred. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? 1 Samuel 17:26. His brothers rebuked him, accusing him of pride. But David persisted. Word reached Saul, and the shepherds stood before the king. "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." 1 Samuel 17:32. Saul tried to dissuade him. "You are only a young man." David recounted his victories over lions and bears while protecting his sheep. "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17:37. Saul relented, dressing David in his armor. But David took it off. Instead, he chose 5 smooth stones, his sling, and his trust in God. The clash. David versus Goliath. Goliath laughed when he saw David. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he mocked. David's voice rang out. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's." 1 Samuel 17:45-47. David ran toward the giant, slung a stone, and struck Goliath on the forehead. The Philistine fell face down. With Goliath's own sword, David cut off his head. The enemy fled in terror. Israel surged forward in victory. From shepherd to warrior, David became a national hero. Saul brought him into his court permanently. Jonathan, Saul's son, loved David deeply and made a covenant with him. 1 Samuel 18:1-4. But the songs of the people stirred jealousy in Saul. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. 1 Samuel 18:7. Jealousy turned to rage. Saul hurled spears at David, plotted his death, and hunted him like a fugitive. But David, though now a warrior, would not lift his hand against Saul. "The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed." 1 Samuel 24. 6. When you're ready, I'll continue with David's years of exile and test of character. David becoming king, his reign, failures, and redemption. Final reflections on his legacy, exile, and mercy. I will not lay my hand on my Lord, because he is the Lord's anointed. 1 Samuel 24. 10. Hunted like a criminal. After David's victory over Goliath and his growing popularity, Saul's jealousy intensified. The king, once fond of the shepherd boy, now sought to destroy him. David fled from Saul's court, becoming a fugitive, hiding in wildernesses, deserts, and caves. 1 Samuel 21:23. Though he had no formal title or throne, David gathered around him a band of loyal men, about 400 at first, who were distressed, in debt, and discontented. 1 Samuel 22:2. These were outcasts, yet they would become the foundation of his kingdom. One of David's first stops was Nob, where he received holy bread from the priest Ahimelech and took Goliath's sword, which had been kept there. 1 Samuel 21:1-9. But Saul, discovering this, slaughtered the priests of Nob in a horrific act of vengeance. 1 Samuel 22:18-19. David was devastated. "I am responsible for the death of your whole family," David said to Abiathar, the priest who escaped. 1 Samuel 22:22. David's life was now marked by sorrow, injustice, and fear, but he never lost his trust in God. Cave of Adullam, the refuge of the broken. In the cave of Adullam, David found both sanctuary and community. Here he led, trained, and discipled those who came to him. Though in exile, he showed himself to be a shepherd of people, not just sheep. It was in these desperate years that many of his psalms were birthed. "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge." Psalm 18:2. Though pursued by Saul, David continued to rescue Israelite towns like Keilah, 1 Samuel 23, all while trusting God for guidance. Each time Saul came close, the Lord delivered David by narrow escapes. Twice tested, twice merciful. In 1 Samuel 24, David found himself in the wilderness of En-Gedi. Saul entered the very cave where David and his men were hiding. David's men whispered, "This is the day the Lord spoke of when he said, 'I will give your enemy into your hands.'" David crept up and cut off the corner of Saul's robe, but he was conscience-stricken. "The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed." 1 Samuel 24:6. After Saul left the cave, David called out, "See, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off the corner, but did not kill you. There is nothing in my hand to indicate wrongdoing or rebellion." 1 Samuel 24:11. Saul wept, "You are more righteous than I. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly." 1 Samuel 24:17. Yet Saul's repentance was short-lived. Later, in 1 Samuel 26, David had another opportunity to kill Saul while he slept, but again he spared him. Who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? 1 Samuel 26:9. David proved that character, not opportunity, defined him. He trusted God's timing rather than seizing the crown by force. Living among the Philistines. Tired of the chase, David finally sought refuge among Israel's enemies, the Philistines. 1 Samuel 27. King Achish of Gath gave David the town of Ziklag, and David lived there for over a year. Though in enemy territory, David acted wisely, leading raids against hostile groups while maintaining a facade of loyalty to the Philistines. But his alliance was tested when the Philistines prepared to fight Israel. David was expected to join, but the Philistine commanders, mistrusting him, sent him back. 1 Samuel 29. It was a divine redirection. Upon returning to Ziklag, David found the city burned, and their families taken captive by the Amalekites. His men wept until they had no strength left. Some even spoke of stoning David, but David found strength in the Lord his God. 1 Samuel 30:6. David inquired of the Lord, pursued the raiders, and recovered everything: wives, children, and possessions. 1 Samuel 30:18-19. It was a defining moment of leadership and restoration. The death of Saul. Meanwhile, on the battlefield at Mount Gilboa, Saul and his sons, including Jonathan, David's dearest friend, fell before the Philistines. 1 Samuel 31. A messenger came to David in Ziklag, reporting Saul's death and bringing his crown. David tore his clothes in grief, mourning Saul and Jonathan. "How the mighty have fallen in battle. Jonathan lies slain on your heights. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me." 2 Samuel 1:25-26. David did not rejoice in Saul's death. He honored him, because Saul had been God's anointed. David becomes king of Judah. After seeking the Lord, David went up to Hebron, and the tribe of Judah anointed him king. 2 Samuel 2, 1, 4. But the rest of Israel followed Ishbosheth, Saul's son, leading to a long conflict between the house of David and the house of Saul. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. 2 Samuel 3, 1. Eventually, Ishbosheth was murdered. The elders of Israel came to David and said, "We are your own flesh and blood," the Lord said to you. "You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler." 2 Samuel 5, 1, 2. So all the tribes of Israel anointed David king. He was 30 years old when he began to reign and ruled for 40 years. 2 Samuel 5, 4.